We'll review the Mamer in Mamer Melukit Chelik Dalet, the fourth volume. And this is the eighth Mamer. The Rebbe said this Mamer on Yud Gimel Tamuz in Tovshin Membeis. And the Mamer is Asora Sheyoshvim Va'iskim B'Torah Shchina Shruya B'Neim. And they later on published this Mamer, as it said here in the note, that it was a booklet for Chag HaGeula Yud Beis Yud Gimel Tamuz in Tovshin Nun, and over there it's written that this was published for the Chag HaGeula Yud Beis Yud Gimel Tamuz, Tuesday Yom Gimel, the Parshas Bolok Yud Tamuz Nasei Tovshin Nun. This Mamer essentially is based on the Mamer that the Rebbe has given to learn at the first Chag HaGeula in Tafresh Peiches after his redemption. And the Rebbe basically bases this Mamer on the Mamer of the Frierdiker Rebbe and also gives different explanation onto the Mamer. So let's learn the Mamer inside. So we see that the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos brings down that first, Asara Sheyoshvim Va'iskim B'Torah Shchina Shruya B'Neim, Kulu, if 10 people sit and occupy themselves in Torah, the divine rests amongst them. And then the Mishnah continues saying, Afilu Chamisha, how do we know even 5 will also have? Brings a verse for that. Then the Mishnah continues, how do we know Afilu Shloisha? Even 3, there's a verse for that. Afilu Shnayim, even 2, Chulu Afilu Echad. So basically, that even if one learns Torah, still there is the Shechina Shruya B'Neim. But yet, you see that it starts off with Asora Sheyoshvim, so that seems to be that the 10 have a more or a greater level of the Shechina that is present when you have 10. So, so my father-in-law, the Rebbe, whose redemption is on Yud Beis Tamuz and Yud Gimel Tamuz. The Mamer in the Mamer, which opens up with this opening, Shanitan al Yodei lechagigas Yud Beis Tamuz Rishona Shnastov Reish Peiches, that was given by the Frierdiker Rebbe to the celebration of the very first Yud Beis Tamuz in the year Tov Reish Peiches. The Frierdiker Rebbe went out of prison in Tov Reish Pei Zayin, and the following year, in Tov Reish Peiches, he gave this Mamer to be studied at that in honor of that celebration. So, what does he explain over there? The Hagam, although Shagam Echad Sheyeshev Ve'esek B'Torah, even though if you just have one who's sitting and learning Torah. Makolshkin, of course, it goes without saying, Shnayim, Shloshu V'Chamisha, the others mentioned in numbers of people learning Torah mentioned in the Mishnah. And in all cases, Umamshich Gilu Elikus, you bring down the revelation of godliness, which means Shechina Shruya. So the Shechina Shruya, the divine rest, you draw down the Shechina any number. But Mikol Makom yet, Ha'amshocha shal Yidei Torah the Rabbim, the Hamshocha that comes down through the study of Torah of the many is on a different level, is on a higher level. It's a elevated, a greater Hamshocha. There is a similarity, just like by davening. There is something about a minyan. The same thing is with regards to learning. There is a special hamshocha when we have a minyan. We have 10 people learning. The just like by the davening, our sages of blessed memory say tfilas rabim einonim is that the prayer that comes from the many is not rejected, is not refused. Shenemar, because quoting the pasuk, Hein Kel Kabir V'lo this powerful God Hashem is powerful, and He will not refuse, not reject the prayer, and that's the Gemara brings down for the pasuk for Tefillah B'tzibur that davening with a minyan. Sharabim b'tfilosim. What is the specialty that you have a minyan, you have a rabbim b'tfilosim? Mamshichim yud gimel midas harachamim. They bring down the 13 attributes of mercy. So that's why Shem always answers them. So he equates the Friedrich Rebbe and the Mamer equates that Kamikain who b'Torah. The same thing is in Torah. Shaidei Torah the Rabbi Nimshach Gilui Oir El Yin Yosef, that through the Torah of the many we draw down, it draws down a higher, a superior level than 1, 3, 5, 10 brings down a superior level, just like by tefillah the Kel Kabir Lo Yimas when you daven with a minyan. Why does the Alter Rebbe, the Friedrich Rebbe, use the language? It says that when you have the tefillah Rabbi. So that's a common language in Chazal, but the Alter Rebbe uses the word Rabbi also as it relates to Torah. He talks about Torah de Rabbim, Rabbim b'tfilosom, and Rabbim of Torah. And we're not just talking about a number of Rabbim, many, we're talking about specifically a minyan. So why is the language used as the Rabbi? The Rebbe will explain that 10, the number 10, includes all different categories of the Jewish people. So that's essentially, that is the ultimate Rabbi. Let's look inside. To explain the language of our sages of blessed memory. They say, Tfilas Rabim, the prayer of the many, and in the Mamer, he says the language of Rabim also as it associates to Torah. Doesn't say 10, he says Rabim. But in the tefillah, we're talking about minyan, we're talking about 10. So why would we use the Lashon 10? We can say Rabim would apply even if it's less than 10. But Lashon Rabim Neifel Gam B'Pachas Masor, the language of Rabim can apply even if it's less than 10. Uli Idoch. And on the other hand, Gam Masora Einom Hashlemus the Rabim. Even 10 is not the wholesomeness, it's not the complete, it's not the ultimate, it could be a lot more than that. There is greater numbers than that. And the Rebbe brings down that in the Hilchos Tefillah and the Alter Rebbe Shulchan Aruch said you can daven with a minyan in your house. Still, you should daven b'reiva am hadras melech, meaning to go with more people. So it's not the ultimate rabbim. There is more than that. That's why he says to go to shul where there is more. So why does the language just say rabbim? So the Rebbe explains because rabbim here includes all categories. Yes, levayir bahagdim. So we can explain by introducing the hatamal shedover shenase b'fnei asora miYisrael hu parhes yachid gedolah. If a item was done in front of 10 Jewish people, that's called the greatest public. You can't. There's no more public doing something in public than doing it in front of 10. The lemach tzinu chiluk leinyan parhesya bein we don't find when it comes to doing something in public that there should be a difference if doing it in front of 10 or doing it in more than 10. So why is that? So why is that called? Because when you have 10 of the Yidden Dugmas with Koilim, Asara Sugim the Yisrael. They are similar and they include the 10 categories of the Jew. Rashechem, Shivtechem, that are enumerated in the Pasuk. The leaders, the tribes, the heads of the tribes, up till until the wood choppers and the water those who draw the water, which is in the lowest level. So therefore, you have all categories. When you have 10 is similar and includes all the 10 categories of you. And to publicize something in front of 10 of the Yidden, that's as if you publicize it in all the Yidden because you included in it all the categories. So the same idea, why a parhesia is called in front of 10, that's called the greatest public act. So the same thing is, V'zeu, and this is also the reason, Sha'asora mi Yisrael nikroim b'shem rabim stam, that 10 of the Yidden are called just a rabim stam, because ribu yachi godel shein ribu godel menu, because we're talking about the many. It's the greatest ribui is the greatest level of many that there can be. There could be no greater many than 10 because that's all the categories. There's no more categories. So therefore, that's why it's called a rabbim, because essentially that's the true rabbim, because when you have 10, you have everyone. Base. So what is the reason why is 10 so important? So Hine Bevur Betanya explains in the Tanya, the advantage of 10 applies to all matters of Torah and mitzvahs. Because no item of Kedusha can be said in less than 10 people. You always need 10. You need a minyan for when there's a Dover Shebegedusha. So it seems for all matters of Kedusha, we need a minyan. And yet, davening specifically is the requirement of a minyan. Hello? Sha'afal became still. The main advantage of 10 is during davening. The hamayla shebitfilas rabim shiritsuya umekobelos loilom. The advantage, what do we have when you have a minyan, a prayer of the rabbim, is that it's always acceptable. Hashem never rejects that when you daven with a minyan. What is one seeking when he davens? He's seeking that Hashem shall fulfill his request. That's why he's davening. So when we have the advantage, davening with the minyan, with the many, or davening by yourself, it's an essence that is, it's not just an advantage. It's something important. That's the whole idea of prayer. Prayer, you want Hashem to listen to you. And if you have a minyan, Hashem listens to you. So therefore, since what we're seeking with davening is that Hashem should fulfill our request, so what is the advantage of the prayer of the many over a prayer of an individual? It's not that in the prayer of the many we have another additional aspect. That's important to davening himself. So by davening, the maila of a minyan is the whole essence of the davening, so that your prayer should be received. Now, the fact that the previous Rebbe and the Mamer equates the minyan of Torah to the minyan of tefillah, we can say that also by Torah, it's not like just an added advantage to do with learn Torah with a minyan, but it's on a whole different level. Based on this, we can say, this is that the Mamer says, Shamay lebet Torah de Rabbim. That the advantage of learning Torah in public is similar to the advantage of davening in public. The intent of here is that the advantage of the Torah of we learn with the minyan, that we learn in public, is in a main aspect of the Torah, not just an added mila, just like by tefillah. It's the whole idea of tefillah. What you're seeking with davening, the same thing is the mila in Torah when we do it berab. How so? So it seems that perhaps we could explain this. The kivon she'ein haTorah niknis ela b'chabura. Since the Torah is not acquired, you need a chabura, you need a group. That's Gemara in Brachas brings it down. And so move on. So that's why we know that when you're studying Torah with a bigger group, the Torah is acquired more. Since the wholesome of Chabura is when you have 10, the Yisrael, because 10 Yidden are similar and they include all 10 categories, the Yidden Canal, therefore, when the study of Torah is with 10, Kinyan HaTorah Hu B'Shleimus, then you're acquiring Torah B'Shleimus because you have Chabura. So this is the biggest Chabura, and therefore you're kind of the Torah B'Shleimus. That would be the explanation that the Torah is on a whole different level when you learn it B'Asora. But this explanation isn't sufficient because the advantage here is not in the hamshocha that comes from the learning of the Torah or a minyan, but it's an advantage of the people that are learning Torah, that when they're learning with a minyan, they can acquire the Torah better. But it's mashma that the learning of Torah Barabim is equal to the learning davening Barabim, which over there, the davening is a greater hamshacha that comes milomaila from the Yud Gimel Midasarachamim. So similarly, we should say that also in learning Torah, that it's not just that you're acquiring and you're having a better level to be koine Torah, but that there's a greater hamshacha. The Rebbe says this explanation isn't sufficient. The above advantage in the Torah of the many, that's in the person who's learning Torah. When he learns with 10, when he learns with 10, so his acquisition, that he acquires the Torah, he accepts the Torah. That's in a wholesome way. So that's a wholesomeness that comes to the person who receives the Torah on a higher level. For the person, but the Torah when we're comparing in the Mamer, that learning publicly is similar to davening publicly, that's talking about what we're drawing down. As explained in the Mamer. The Kemoy, as explicit in the Mamer, the Kemoy Sharabim Bitfiloso. Just as the many in their davening, they bring down the 13 attributes of mercy. You draw down a higher level. It's not talking about the fact that you can learn Torah on a higher level, the recipient, but we're talking about the hamshacha comes from a higher level, as it says in the Mamer that nimshach oir elyon yosef.